So whenever I click this go live button, there's always this awkward period of not knowing if we're live or not. And plus it gives people a chance to log on too. So while we're waiting, wanted to share with you guys some failed name attempts here. So we titled this episode Flatten Your Curve, which we'll go over. Here's the things that got shot down. One of them by Katie, a couple of them by my wife. We could have gone with Lose the Quarantine 15. That was one option. We could have gone with Avoid the COVID-19, as in pounds, not the year. Work off the whiskey quickly. That would have worked. Work off the whiskey. That could have been okay. That's all I had. Those were the things I was crossing off my list before Lori Given came in with Flatten the Curve. All right. I think we're live, buddy. Kick us off.
We're live. And with that, we are live on episode 4 of Whiskey and Wisdom. This episode, we're talking about flattening your curve with Katie Mackenzie of Gym Guyz. So let's dive right into a few things here.
Can I just say that there's nothing wrong with curves, right? That's not the stance that we're taking. This is more just punny. We're just being punny. That's it.
We're bad dad jokes. Bad dad jokes.
Exactly. Fair enough.
So, kind of get things kicked off as we always do. Mike, you have any updates on your end or any insight on what's occurring with the mortgage world these days?
I do, my friend. We had a large update today. So I've been on these last couple episodes talking about how there's some challenges arising in the mortgage market that are all due to liquidity. Well, we had a big announcement today that we didn't get exactly what we want. And I kind of joked on Facebook this morning. I've been literally lobbying Congress members for the first time in my life for this liquidity facility under the direction of our CEO and the president of the NBA. We had some movement on that today. So hopefully that goes probably halfway, 3/4 of the way to establishing all the things that we needed as an industry to make sure that this forbearance crisis doesn't just absolutely topple everything. So we are hoping that trickles through and stops things from tightening up, hopefully in its tracks, and maybe even we can loosen some of those things back up a little bit. So great news today for anybody who's a lender, a real estate agent, or in the market looking to potentially buy or even sell a home, because you need a buyer to sell a home. So good news today.
No, that's great. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really going to help us out. Yeah, that's really going to help us out because, as we're seeing in the marketplace, trends are continuing where inventory, while we know for the last 5 years has been at a detrimental capacity compared to the amount of buyers out there, we're continuing to see probably about 25 to 30% less inventory than we would this time over the last 5 years. So while we have less inventory out there, we're still continuing again this week to see even more go under contract than we are seeing to hit the market. I mean, for perfect example here, I was looking at a few different stats. We had about 385 homes hit the market in St. Louis City and St. Louis County in the last 7 days, and we had an additional over 400 go under contract. So we're continuing to see that trend.
So inventory went down.
Inventory went down again. Wow. So it's going to be really interesting at the end of this month when I run, April 2020 versus April 2019 to see what the first 30 days of this of shelter in place actually panned out to be in terms of real concrete numbers.
So we're lumping a crisis that makes people scared to let people into their homes and therefore hard for people to list their homes. We're lumping that on top of an already historic inventory shortage. And it's just creating, what's interesting, Sean? Katie, I don't want to take too much time away from you, and unless you're thinking of selling your house, and this is great for you to know. What's interesting is we're still seeing a lot of rapid activity. It's almost as if buyers have got less picky. Have you felt that at all? It's almost like, hey, there's a house available, let's buy it. It's been kind of weird.
So I wouldn't necessarily say they got less picky, but there's that heightened sense of urgency where they're like, okay, this one absolutely works for me. Let's do this. I'm in a position where I need to make a move. Somebody who wants to make a move is not active right now. They're just educating. They're kind of laying in the weeds, waiting for things to blow clear. People who are writing contracts need to move. At the same time, sellers who maybe were sitting on the market for a while and were not getting offers, they're not necessarily adjusting their prices, but they're all of a sudden getting offers where it's at least a conversation starter. And now they're saying, okay, maybe I should have a conversation in this current environment and see if we can come to a term that will work for both of us.
I like it.
Absolutely.
I like it.
So moving on to, a little more fun stuff. So we're jumping to Katie here. Obviously, we got the whiskey portion of our episode. So, Mike, what is
Cheers.
your poison today?
So I'm switching gears, taking a cue from Andrew Wilson, who we had on, I guess that was last week. I've got a Knob Creek Rye Manhattan with a little Koshi Torino, sweet vermouth, and orange twist. It's delicious. Since it's before 5 o'clock, I decided to have a cocktail and kind of ease into the whiskey this evening. So this is what we got. Cheers.
Well, I do have an ice cube in mind, so I mean that's kind of pre 5 o'clock, I guess.
Yeah. What do you got?
Today we are switching it up a bit. We're going with an Isla, so a very peaty Scotch, Balmore 12. Nice little bottle right here. See, My wife personally hates it when I drink Isla whiskeys because they are smoky, and she thinks I smell like gasoline. So she's not in the room. So today I get to drink one.
Well, you are on fire, my friend. So that helps. There you go. And Isla Scotch always makes me think of Isla Fisher, which makes me happy. So there you go.
There you go.
Katie, what are you drinking?
I have a lovely kombucha today. Watermelon flavor. Has traces of alcohol. There's warnings in here about not being drinking.
Fermented.
Consulting with your physician. So I figured it counts, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're pretty
flexible
on the whiskey part.
I know I need a little whiskey lesson if I'm going to keep up with you two.
Fair enough. That we can do. That can be a subsequent episode. We can walk you through it. But for now, you're winning. Yeah. All right. So cheers. Cheers to everybody who's watching on the live. Looks like we got 12 people on right now. Cheers, everybody. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast. So mentally there. What do we got next, buddy?
Well, today, as we mentioned, we've got Katie Mackenzie here on with us from Gym Guyz. They do some really cool things in we'll call it the normal world. And today, though, we want to talk with her about what can you do now that you're in this new environment and you still want to maintain your workout regimen to some degree, add on to it, switch it up. And so from, that standpoint, we'll kind of let Katie take it on from here and guide us through the rest of this conversation.
Yeah, start with telling us who you are and what is Gym Guyz?
Yeah, so I'm Katie. I'm the owner of Gym Guyz here in St. Louis. And we, in a normal world, as Sean said, we would normally provide in-home training sessions. So we would go to the client, we would bring the trainer, the equipment, and that customized workout right to people. So they were already kind of avoiding that gym space for one reason or another, or didn't fit into their schedule, wasn't something that they enjoyed doing or an environment that they liked. And now we have shifted. Again, even though we were already kind of a low-touch environment, we're still a non-essential business. So we had to kind of shift our model a bit, and we moved everything to virtual training sessions. So now we're still providing that same kind of one-on-one coaching environment or small group environment, but we're doing so virtually. So it's been a bit of a shift, but the one thing that we're seeing is that people need some sense of normalcy right now. And it's really hard to figure that out and kind of do on your own. Maybe you were an early morning exerciser and now you don't have to get up and go at the crack of dawn anymore. There's nowhere to go. Or maybe you could sneak workout in.
Lose that edge.
When people, when kiddos were at school or you had flexibility to do so, but we have no sense of normal schedule right now, any of us. Everyone's kind of all over the place with either too many balls in the air or too much free time. Neither of those are leading to good, healthy habits. I think for a lot of individuals are struggling then.
So one of the things I like to do on these Whiskey and Wisdom episodes is really dig into the stuff that I know is on people's mind, right? So one of the things that comes to mind right away is if I'm used to going to a gym or I'm used to even having a personal trainer at the gym, what do I do virtually? If I'm signing up with you, what does that mean? And what am I missing by having it virtual versus being in a facility with somebody besides the obvious stuff like equipment?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had a shift and we've had to evolve a little bit. I think one of the biggest things, whether you're doing it in person or doing it virtually, is that accountability, and that appointment and that set day and time. And that hasn't shifted, right? We had one of our clients early on who, when we were making the shift, she's like, I just don't think it's going to be the same. I know what I can do. I think I got this. Like, I think I can ride this out, and then we'll pick back up when this is over. And then after like 2.5 weeks, she's like, I don't have this. I can't, right? There was something about that appointment and saying, I have to do this on this set day and time. So whether it was in our old model or in this model, that hasn't shifted. And I think that's a big component of having a trainer and working with a coach, is just that ongoing one-on-one support. Virtually, it is a little bit different, right? You get a little bit of a different dynamic, but we can still kind of prompt you and cue form and functionality and things like that, and still going through that same sort of intake process with clients, so we know what to prescribe for those best exercises. But I think we're doing it pretty seamlessly, and our clients that are sticking with it, we're able to, again, hold them accountable, and they're trucking right along. And when we pick back up full steam, they'll be right back on track.
So that's a pretty powerful story. So what I'm gathering from that is that if somebody decides to sign up for personal training through a company like Gym Guyz, they're getting first and foremost accountability. It's an appointment. Somebody's going to meet them there on Zoom, I presume. They're getting that accountability. Because it's still a video conference, you can actually see their form, you can see their cadence, you can see if they're struggling or doing well, and you can adjust or motivate, right? This is where I got to give you a shameless plug here, Katie, because I'm very much like the person that you named in the story. You have a unique advantage because you were always a mobile company. So you don't have a gym that's shut down right now. You're being, for the most part, excluded from going to people's houses, but you were always kind of mobile. So you've been very quick to adapt the current environment because you were already pretty well set up for it, right? And so I'm used to going to a gym, and now that I can't, I was pretty quick to call you and say, let's do this, right? Do you want to go over, so it's working, I'm personally attesting, I'm a client of Gym Guyz. It's working very, very well for my wife and I. Do you want to talk about pricing or packages or anything like that, just in case, because, not so shamelessly, I'm hoping that some people watching actually leave this call and reach out to you on Facebook and actually get signed up, because for me, that accountability is huge. And for me, it's absolutely worth being a client.
Yeah. So with our regular training packages, and even still now, so we have personal training packages. So depending on that level of kind of commitment that someone's ready to make, some of it based on what sort of buy-in they have personally. So we have levels of 10 sessions up to 100 sessions at a time. And while we're in this phase of virtual training, and some clients may stick with this for a while, depending on what their health and their personal situation is, but we're doing we have special promo offers for the virtual. So we're doing a buy 4 regular sessions, you get that 5th one free. And so it kind of honors a little bit lower price point, since we don't have that travel time in as well for those virtual sessions. And then when we're ready to service clients back in their homes, we're ready to jump back in. But, for some of our clients, this has become a different way of us doing business, and it may, again, stick like this for a little bit for some of our senior clients, for some of our clients that travel frequently. Now we're better equipped, and we're able to kind of force ourselves into that model where maybe we'll offer a little bit of both ongoing.
So travel, that's an interesting point that you bring up, because no longer, once we get accustomed to this, no longer is a vacation automatically an excuse to backslide on our training schedule, because and that's a good point, because, me personally, I have a network that spans all over the country. So there could be people watching from other states right now, and you really don't have borders under this mentality too. So this might be a somewhat permanent adjustment to your business where you have some clients that this is temporary and they go back to normalcy. And then some clients switch to this modality permanently, and then maybe even opens you up to have clients in other areas.
Right. And so as Mike, as we were talking over the weekend about even finding mats, so part of this evolution of our model with our local clients, we've been able to leave them with our equipment since we're not using it in the same capacity where we would go and a trainer would show up with equipment and then leave with it. We spent that first week and a half just getting things out to clients so that when they were picking up those virtual sessions, they were used to that same experience. And we know who has what and how to program accordingly and kind of give them homework based on what equipment we left with them. Fitness equipment is on a bit of a shortage right now for those of you that don't know or trying to buy anything, but virtually dumbbells.
Is it toilet paper bad or is it just like normal bad?
It's pretty close.
It's pretty bad. I mean, wanting to buy something as simple as dumbbells between 5 pounds to 30 pounds, best of luck getting something before June. And so.
Well, kind of to dovetail off of something that Mike, brought up with this transitioning in the future for business travel, I think it's going to be, a really good dovetail here in the sense that when you're traveling, you don't have a lot of equipment available to you. And like you're bringing up now, we have a shortage of equipment. I know I've been online looking at potentially upping my barbells, and it's just not happening right now. So what kind of tools or pieces of home equipment that we currently have in our house can we utilize to start, getting back into that routine?
It's a great question.
Oh my God. So some of it is simply, starting with kind of that body weight foundation. What are those naggings, aches, pains, injuries, or those tight areas? Some of that we're kind of going back to with our clients and slowing things down a bit. And instead of,
I don't have any of those.
None of those. But instead of constantly hitting that area hard where they feel like they need to see results, taking some time to focus on a little bit more mobility and kind of working through some kind of post-rehab exercises with them so that they can really, then when they are ready to get back in full steam, if they were used to lifting heavier weights that they now don't have access to, their body will adapt much better. There's also, without going into the nitty gritty, this theory of kind of time under tension, right? So if I don't have resistance at home, if I take a simple squat and I hold the bottom of that squat for 10, 15 seconds and come back up, no, I didn't have any resistance, but holding it for a longer period of time makes it that much more challenging. So there's kind of some dynamic and creative ways you can use to challenge those muscles a little bit differently without just using an external resistance all the time.
So you don't necessarily need equipment, but if you've got some things, you can kind of repurpose it. So I do what I call POC presses, where I just do chest presses with Tupac. They work nicely. That's a pretty heavy book.
I did notice that on your shelf. I was trying to.
It's everybody's favorite thing. I've had that book forever. I love it. So you gave some examples. What about walking us through some more examples of some common, super easy exercises that people can do at home? And what are the important things to remember other than the accountability? Because honestly, I think the accountability part is the most important thing that you said. And we're all lacking a little bit of that. No matter how motivated we are all lacking some accountability that we used to have in our life in some form or another. So that's an important thing. But other than that, we may be lacking some knowledge as well. So what are some of those things that we can do easily, simply, and things that we have to remember while we're doing this at home?
Right. So I think, we need to find ways to obviously kind of work on that strength, but not neglecting just the aspect of getting moving, getting that heart rate up and elevated for little bits of time every day, right? Whether it's a nice day like today, we can get outside and we can go for a walk, things in your house of just, going up and down the stairs a few times, doing things like, those burpees where we stand up, we lower down, we extend those feet back out. I mean, even a few of those at a slow pace will, I promise you, get your heart rate up. And so anything like that, and really kind of, in a sense, being kind to yourself, that this doesn't have to be, you're not going to do this stuff at home. Most people, I would say, are not going to do this at home on their own for an hour every day, where you might have gone to the gym and got on a treadmill or an elliptical or a bike and rode for an hour and caught up on the news in the morning or whatever you did. But finding those little bouts of time to do things like that and just move. And when we talk about kind of that mobility aspect and finding those areas of your body that, you're experiencing tightness or pain or weakness, going back to some basic yoga stretches. And I can tag our YouTube channel. Ugh, I know you love it.
Yeah, please do. Please do that. Yeah.
But we have some videos up there of things that are just, quick 10, 15 minutes. And again, little to no equipment that our coaches have kind of helped to put together, but things that are focusing on all of those kind of body weight foundations and a little combination of kind of that strength, cardio, and flexibility, which are those three components we all need to focus on.
What were those three?
Kind of our strength resistance training, our cardiovascular, and our flexibility.
Why are those the three?
Because those are the three that kind of come together to encompass all, any one of our exercise components is going to fit into one or multiple categories of those.
Oh, okay. So if I can distill what you were saying, that part of this is also being honest with yourself and not making commitments that are beyond what you're actually going to fulfill. And if you can make this digestible and something you're actually going to do, you're going to have a lot more success with it, right?
Right. And I challenge people too when we look back at that sense of normalcy, go back to that normal schedule that you used to have, when maybe it doesn't have to be 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, but if it was first thing in the morning, try and keep that same routine. If you used to work out at some point in the middle of the day or over lunch, try and just make that part of your routine again, because if we schedule it in now or any other time, that would always be a recommendation for clients. If we schedule it in, you're more likely to stick with it.
I think that's a great point, Katie. I mean, because that's something I know a lot of people are having a challenge with, is that we had that routine. I mean, me personally, I worked out at about 4 p.m. in the afternoon typically. Now I'm at home, we've got kids, my wife works at home, I work from home. My timing had to change to fit within that dynamic. So finding ways to be remotivated are huge. One of the questions I've had, posed to me is some people just don't know where to start because, again, it's not their normal routine. They don't have access to the same things. Do you have any suggestions on resources just to find even just a basic at-home body weight resistance style exercise program they could do?
Yeah, like I said, I can tag it in this post at the end. We do have a YouTube channel that we've been kind of growing with some of our coaches of just kind of some pre-recorded, workouts and a little bit of everything from, a 15-minute, lower body series that will have your legs quivering to a chair yoga class, which our instructor made me do. I sat in the chair. She stood behind the camera and did it. And I'm like, I can't touch my toes.
Chair yoga.
Chair yoga.
It's a new one. Are there goats involved with that? No? No goats? Okay. There's a goat yoga. That's a thing, I swear.
There's also cat yoga, dog yoga. I mean, you can do that.
But Sean, you brought up kids, and we would always see this in our in-home model, which I've been in the gym environment. It was just a really different relationship that we would have with our clients. But now more than ever, it's one of those biggest excuses is kids because they're home all the time. And how do I do it? And let them join in with you. Even if they sit in the room and play, or that's their PE time. Try and encouraging that. And we're seeing that a lot through our virtual sessions that, the parents are like, oh, well, this one's joining me, or now my husband's home and he's going to join in the workout. So it's become a lot more of a family dynamic for everyone.
So how do you do that successfully? Because I could see that going one of two ways. Either that's super productive hack or you're herding cats while you're trying to work out. So how do you make it one versus the other?
With the kids around, depending on the ages, they're going to jump in and jump out, right? The likelihood that at any age,
you're going to make them less interested in what you're doing. That's the goal.
They're going to think it's fun and they're going to stick with it. It probably isn't going to happen at really young ages. We will see this, that a toddler, a little one will be around playing and they'll like jump in when they think something's fun, or they'll come over and climb on mom and dad, and then they'll walk away. And come back. The older ones, the same thing. Sometimes those middle-aged teenagers are like the biggest complainers. I'm like, how does this hurt you? You guys are to go back to 15, and this should be fun and easy for you. So our goal is to just, we're always kind of keeping that focus on that client and kind of letting the others and encouraging them to join in as much as we can. So.
That's great.
Love it.
Honestly, Katie, with my personal workouts, one of the components I was missing was the cardio aspect, just frankly because of scheduling, just because of time. And this has afforded me the opportunity to add that into my schedule. And, to your point with the kids, I went out for the first day, started a 5K training program just to throw something in there. And I mapped out our yard. The outside of our yard is almost exactly 1/10 of a mile. So I run the yard, and my wife calls it my jailhouse yard run.
The longest yard.
But the kid, my son in particular, was like, "What are you doing?" And I told him, he's like, "Oh, let's go." And, about every other day, he'll kind of jump in there with me and do it. And now when they get bored, he'll say, "All right, I'm going to go run laps, Dad."
That's funny.
So to your point,
they get to wear them out.
Opportunity there. No, not a chance. We don't have enough. No. But when we jump here with somewhat questions that people are asking, Colin in particular was asking, where are you on dumbbells versus kettlebells for adding to basic body weight HIIT workouts? Because he's been thinking about adding some to supplement his mountain biking and trainer spinning that he's been doing, because he's completely off his normal routine, he said. So he's kind of interested in where you stand in terms of adding like dumbbells versus kettlebells to his basic workout right now.
Well, I would say right now, maybe snatch up whichever one you could get first and foremost. They operate a little bit differently. So your dumbbells are going to be great for kind of those concentrated muscle work where you're doing something as simple as an arm curl and you're kind of controlling that with your muscle. The kettlebell would take maybe a little bit, if you've never done it before, a little bit more training in the dynamics. It changes the body mechanics of our body, because that kettlebell ultimately becomes an extra lever in your body. So without going we're traditionally taught with typical weightlifting not to swing the weights around, the kettlebell is the exact opposite. You want to actually use the momentum and be able to control that through different motions. So it depends on what those goals are and what he's planning on doing with it. I would say dumbbells, if you can find the appropriate weights, maybe have a little bit more dynamic movements that he can do, and then you could progress up to those kettlebells with some training.
So Colin is a friend of mine, and I can attest he's in a lot better shape than I am. So I don't even know what is an HIIT? What's high intensity?
High intensity interval training.
Yeah. Okay.
So either one of those, right? And even with nothing, with just your own body weight, you can still get a high intensity interval workout. It's a matter of starting your workout so that heart rate is getting elevated for a certain period of time. That high intensity intervals is having that time for that heart rate to elevate and come back down.
Awesome. Any other questions that we missed, Sean?
Colin
also wants me to show him the bookshelf, which we can do later. Hi, Rebecca. Lori gave you a compliment. I'm sure you saw that.
Oh, well, Lori gets compliments for coming up with the names. So.
No. And Rob was asking what we were drinking. Rob, if you missed it, Rye Manhattan for me and kombucha for Katie, because she's the trainer. She's showing us the way here. So just to kind of recap where we are so far: accountability, consistency. Don't overcommit yourself. Do something that you can repeat. Do it regularly. Have an appointment. So even if you're, obviously, again, I'm being shameless about this. I'm a client of you guys. I love what you do. And I think everybody should sign up with you regardless of where they are in the country right now to get that accountability and get that guidance. But if they're not going to, and they still want to be productive, other than making appointments for themselves, putting it in their calendar, maybe even including a spouse, since you're stuck with them anyway, in that, and helping each other, hold each other accountable, or if you have teenagers or kids that would do that with you. What other kind of tips for navigating this on our own?
Oh my gosh. So, you already talked a little bit about just being realistic with what you can hold yourself to and what those accountable goals are. Again, some of this isn't just unique to the environment that we're in, but those are questions we would ask our clients ongoing. Okay. Not just with the trainer, not just with the coach, but how many days of the week is it realistic for you to fit exercise into your routine? And then commit to those, right? Carve them out in your schedule like you would anything else. Telling people that you're doing it. Maybe your spouse doesn't want to join in with you. Maybe they're not the best supporter. But finding a friend, a neighbor. Sean, if you tell your neighbors you're going to be running the yard 3 days a week, they maybe call you out if they don't see you out there. But the more people, whether it's someone you're hiring or not.
You're out there now.
Yeah.
The more people you tell that you're doing something and you're starting to make this change, and even asking them to hold you accountable. Ask me about this. Make sure I'm still doing it. That will all help to kind of progress you towards those goals. Whether it's fitness seems to be a big one for a lot of people, but whether it's exercising or something else, we all tend to do a little bit better, and that might be a time why we're struggling because we're all at home just with our family, but we tend to do a little bit better with some level of accountability. So it doesn't have to be
accountability.
Yeah.
That's key.
Doesn't have to be a paid trainer or coach. One of my trainers this morning also brought up the aspect of nutrition. And as we were talking about putting together some more video content and quick tips. It's got oranges in it, right? An orange peel.
There is fruit in there, yeah.
That's right.
But the nutrition side, right, it's something that's a huge component of this. So even if maybe you can't get accountable for your exercise, right now isn't the time to let your nutrition totally fall apart as well.
Those things go together, right? The more you work out, the better you want to eat. The better you want to eat, the more you want to work out. It's hard to really do one without the other. They kind of feed off of each other, right?
They do. And so, if you're working really hard, Sean, if you're running really, around that backyard, if you're, still getting up and keeping.
You got to look like a nut just running circles around your backyard.
That's normal.
Can you post a video of that, please?
No. But I'm used to looking like a nut.
Fair enough. Me too.
But if you put in the work for a good hard workout, don't just waste it on eating like crap. And vice versa. If you're eating really, really clean and healthy, you just want to sit on the couch and be sluggish. And so, using those two to come hand in hand, set some goals that you can measure on your own to hold yourself accountable to. A 5K is a perfect example. Having some goals, whether it's, weight loss, weight maintenance, whether it's just to feel better, get rid of back pain, any of those aches, pains, injuries, or do something or work your way towards a goal and have that goal in mind as a constant reminder. Again, it all kind of links back to that accountability piece that then you become a little bit more internally motivated.
Yeah, if I can, again, just share personal experience on this, and maybe hopefully it helps motivate somebody to get involved. It's amazing what just moving around does for your physical and emotional state, right? We talked about inertia on our last call, Sean, and just getting in motion, it's easier to stay in motion, and physically moving, whether it's an hour a day or 15 minutes a day, that does a lot for your body, since most of us are pretty sedentary right now. And so getting started moving, having that accountability, start moving, it will encourage you to eat better. It will do wonders for your body chemistry, and which will do wonders for your emotional state, which will, help stave off things that I think a lot of us are dealing with. under quarantine and isolation. I feel like this was you're an important guest for us to have because it speaks to something that all of us are dealing with right now. And I think we forget sometimes just how interwoven all of this stuff is. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I also think a part of it too is getting outside, as we're talking about feeling better, right? If you could take your exercise outside, great. But think about how we have to actually plan to leave our house now. And even if you weren't someone that spent large amounts of time outside, I was just talking about this with someone the other day, even if all you did was go out, get in your car, drive to work, go inside, drop the kids off at school, like all of those little things added up to time outside. And now for a big chunk of us, we don't have to go outside at all through the whole day, right? We actually have to think about leaving our house because we have nowhere to go. So how much that makes you feel better too. And then if we can take that up a notch and take your workout outside or get some physical activity while you're out there, you'll just feel tremendously better, tremendously different, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
Some of the things that I would encourage people to do in that same vein is, especially if you're in the business world or even if you're just talking to family or friends, if you're on the phone and you're making calls, I mean, look outside today. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. Just walk around your backyard, go hang out on your patio, do something that's going to get you that exposure, even if it's just for 5-10 minutes. It's going to be better than nothing. But take advantage of this because we all know the rain's coming anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Katie, anything else you want us to know? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
These seasonal affects in the winter, right? There's no denying that people would have like these levels of depression, and part of it can be linked back to that vitamin D intake, like the lack of sun, the inability to go outside. And I have been wondering if we'll have some of that, right, on top of just this stir crazy and everyone being at home, but like the lack of movement, the lack, if you're not taking that effort to go outside, the lack of getting that vitamin D naturally from the sun, not eating healthy, and how all of those things are going to have this mental effect on all of us as well, in addition to the other financial and struggles that people are going to be going through. So if we can take care of our physical body, hopefully those other things are going to be much more easier to manage and have a better outtake on all of this at the end.
Absolutely. So if somebody does want to get in touch with you, if know more information, get pricing, anything like that, you're going to post your YouTube channel and contact info on this thread for us. Anything else that you really want us to know before we wrap up here?
I think just get moving. Whatever it is that you
like.
Find something that you enjoy that will make you stick with it, or hire somebody to make you do the things that you don't enjoy. You're loving it all, right?
Yeah, I need it. I'm not going to lie. For me, it's about being honest with myself. I thought I could do it, but I knew I couldn't. So it's just being honest about what's going to work. And is it a priority for you or not? And for me, it was just a priority, and I knew I wasn't going to do it without that accountability. And for me, also getting my wife involved is huge, because now that's the real source of accountability. And also she is with me, not against me in that, right? And you mentioned how, if you have a spouse that's not supportive of you doing that, it makes it harder. And for those people dealing with that, Sean and I have already talked to a divorce attorney guest that we're going to have on the show later on. That's a joke, but it's also true. That is coming.
It is true.
We'll talk about that here in a second. Thank you, Katie.
About couples, favorite one.
Yeah.
That husband and wife that we were training, and the husband stopped coming to the main floor of the house for the workouts. They had a 2-story house, and he wouldn't come to the main floor. He would avoid the trainer, and so he wouldn't show up for the workouts. And after a couple of weeks, the trainer's like, said to me, what do I do? What do I say to him? Like, he doesn't even come and show his face. I'm like, I promise you, whatever is going on there between the husband and wife, you want no part of
Nothing.
Stay out of it. Mm-mm.
Nothing.
So he quit showing up, and she kept still going strong, but there was no.
Good.
Sure, it was a struggle in that marriage, but
So support your spouse. If your spouse is trying to get active and get moving, be supportive of that.
Get the
Mike's marital advice. Whiskey, wisdom, and matrimony. All right, we should probably at least begin to wrap up. Sean, we didn't talk about this, but I do want to do just a quick promo for Whiskey and Wisdom going forward. Anybody who's still listening, hopefully you feel like Jake, Katie, Andrew, everybody's been a good guest so far. I've really enjoyed, Katie, having you today. Any ideas that you have for people that you want? We have probably the next 4 or 5 lined up, and after that, we're open. We talked about starting a podcast, but we really didn't even know what a podcast is. This is, instead of whispering in the microphones, we're yelling at a computer. So I don't know if this is a podcast or not, but Sean, anything you want to add to that ramble?
Other than the fact that I just got a mental image of SNL's sweaty ball skits. But the podcast, but
hard pass.
Yeah, exactly. But no, seriously, guys, tomorrow we've got episode 5 coming up, and we've got a really awesome opportunity for you guys to listen to GW Slaughter, a good buddy of mine, and he is going to be discussing networking and sales after COVID and how, technology that's being utilized anew and is kind of being introduced to us, how that's going to affect us afterwards, and how also we will go back to some normalcy in the sense of we are people. We love being social. So really encourage you guys to take the opportunity to tune in tomorrow on Wednesday at 4 p.m. for episode 5 with GW Slaughter.
All right, man. Good plug. Katie with Gym Guyz, located here in Kirkwood, serving the whole St. Louis area. She's going to leave her contact information. If anybody, again, I can, a satisfied customer here can personally attest, reach out to her if you're looking for some of that accountability in your workout. Thanks, everybody. You guys can drop now. Colin, if you really want to see the bookshelf, I'll show you the bookshelf. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
No problem. That's really it, man. It's just that. It's not a built-in. It's just a piece. The real exciting part of the office is the bar. Ignore the halo here. Yeah. This is Whiskey and Wisdom. So, hey, that's actually a good point. Whiskey?
Wisdom.
Whiskey. All right. We better cut this thing off. All right. I'm going to